Good morning and welcome to Local Business Focus. I'm Sally Barker. Joining us on the show today is Peter Trenaman from Groupsupport, proud station sponsor. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Sally. How are you today?
I'm well, thanks, but it's our last episode together.
It is, and it's been a journey for me, and I want to thank you for making it so easy.
Thank you for all your wonderful advice.
I hope I haven't bored anybody. It's really easy in IT and technology, with a foreign language that it is, to bore people silly.
Well, that's what it is. It is a foreign language to people who are not in IT.
Absolutely. And I want to just clarify some of those things by a question and answer session. We've been asked some questions. One of the things I had a laugh at over the week was we had a colleague who was doing something, and she wanted to know about grouting the firewall.
Grouting the firewall?
Grouting the firewall. Now
right.
It's a Mondo Green. Okay,
and there we go. There's a foreign language.
Well, a Mondo Green is an English language term, and as a journalist you might know it. It's when you sing the wrong lyrics to a song because it sounds what you recognise and you're not actually listening to what it says.
Yes.
You know, and I can't remember a classic one, but there's plenty that are very funny, and if you look on the internet, it's just hilarious.
You just can't stop laughing.
That's right. Yeah. So, grouting the firewall. A firewall is a device that actually, and we spoke about this when we were talking about packets and the internet, a firewall is something that blocks traffic on a specific channel or a specific port for a specific reason. Now, sometimes it's security, sometimes it's prevention of escaping data or to stop intrusion. Now, grouting is something used on bricks. It's nothing to do with the internet. Routing, or routing, as they say in America, but we call it routing in Australia for obvious reasons,
yes.
Is when you make a path across the internet or across a network with the numbers of the labels of the packets, the names of the packets, and a good route would be, if I was going from here to Sydney, I would have to go from Perth to Kalgoorlie, and then I'd have to turn and go to Coolgardie, and I'd have to turn again and then head towards Sojourner. So that's my route. So my first point of call will be, my first hop will be Kalgoorlie. That's a route to Sydney. And that's what routing in firewalls is all about. And that's what she meant.
That's where you need to grout.
Fill in the bricks.
That's where all your tiles meet, yes. Okay, so they're not grouting, it's routing.
It's routing. That was a funny conversation. But there's other questions we've got, and you've got some of them there.
So we were talking about passwords and protecting passwords and so forth on a previous episode, but what password manager systems are available?
There's plenty.
Right.
The easiest to operate and the simplest to run is one where you have a code word and you match a letter system to do with a code word. I have a client, let's call him Frank. A lot of my clients are called Frank, and everybody knows Frank. They have a day of the week and a number to do with a birthday or a significant date. So they might have Friday 20 as one password, and then they'll have Monday 21, Tuesday 22. Now, the Tuesday 22 doesn't mean anything, but it's a number and letter sequence that makes it easy for them to remember. It's a code. Okay. My mother-in-law likes the dog 333 password. I said, well, please, can we do something a bit different? Can we put them together? And so she has combinations of dog 333 cat and cat 333 dog. But it's a combination of words that makes it easy for her to remember, and she doesn't need anything more complex than that. But it then becomes a complex password.
Yes.
Because you then get letters and numbers. And that's the important thing, is to have it reasonably long, so it needs to be more than 6 characters, and it needs to have letters and numbers. You need to have an uppercase in there as well. Some of the software packages that are available are things like Dashlane, and LastPass, Sticky Vault, DigiVault, Password Boss, 1Password, TrueKey, and Microsoft have one called Credential Manager. Apple have one called Keychain. Some of them are subtle, some of them are embedded. The important thing is to understand how the passwords are kept. If they're kept in a vault, they require a simple password to be on the front. That would be then the most important one you have to remember. Okay, but the important thing is to make sure that that password is never used outside. So you have one password that you never tell anyone else, and that's for your password vault. The rest of the passwords that are in there are an assortment of different passwords that you get from your bank or whatever that can then be used as they are needed. But you make sure the one that's the central key to your vault, to your password software, is never used anywhere else.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, you don't. You always remember it. You never write it down. You don't have it anywhere else.
So you did say it's important to change your passwords regularly.
That's right.
So here's a question. When I have my Wi-Fi connected, they said if you change the password, it'd be very difficult for us to help you if something goes wrong.
Not necessarily. All you have to do is tell them what the new password is.
Right.
Okay? That means then you control access. It means they can't just get access whenever you want.
Okay.
Now, if you're in a business arrangement with your IT provider, passwords are a different matter. There's some shared passwords which are common, and there's some passwords which are exclusive.
Okay.
Access needs to be granted to someone you've given contractual obligation to look after your IT, and you need to allow them to do their job properly. But at the same time, you need to be secure, so you need to have trust. So having a regular password change regime and have a regular system of changing those things is an important part of keeping the place secure. And even if someone says it will be so difficult for me, it's like, well, not really. I'll just tell you the new one when after I've changed it, when you want to come on again. It's fairly simple.
All right, moving on to the next question. How and why do we test backups?
Francesca was a lady, another Frank, but a female Frank this time, was a lady who used to do the payroll for a client a long time ago. And every day she did the payroll, she'd back up the payroll. They never tested the backups for such a long time. And then they changed IT providers and we became their IT provider. Walked in and one of the first things I do is say, right, where are your backups and what are they looking like and how long have you got and how far back can you go? Because if you have a grandfather, father, son system, you should be able to go back every day for the last week or fortnight, back every week for the last month, 3 months, and every month for the last year or something like that. Something like that pattern. What we found is that she'd actually been backing up the icon for the payroll.
No.
She'd been doing it every week, and there was a really good backup of the icon every single week.
Oh, devastating.
No data. Luckily, and touch wood, she didn't have a problem.
Okay.
But it was so close.
Wow.
A near miss, and the business owner was ashen, grey, just couldn't believe it.
So how did she, was she backing up in another way as well?
No.
No?
Nope,
Okay.
that was it. It was only the icon, and someone had told her just to drag the icon onto the backup drive.
Well, she was doing what she was told.
She was doing what she was told, and she was doing it blindly. And no one was checking, so no one's actually assessing her understanding.
Yes.
And in pure and simple terms, that's why.
So we have spoken a lot about the importance of backing up.
Absolutely.
But then going and testing the backup.
What are you backing up? What's succeeding?
Exactly. Yes, so don't back up blindly.
Well, backing up blindly is fine. But if it's a routine and if it's a regime that you're doing on a regular basis, that's great.
Well, how often would you check your backup?
I would, for most of my clients, we do it once every 3 months.
Right.
And we choose a random file, a random test to conduct. That once every 2 years, we do a complete system.
Okay.
We test a complete system.
Yeah.
So we restore a machine from scratch.
Okay. All right. Well, next question. My laptop, email or PC has been breached or compromised. What do I do?
The first thing you do is shut it down.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Close the lid, unplug it, and bring it to your local IT provider like ourselves.
So no log out first, just shut it.
Just shut it down.
Shut it.
If it's in the middle of what's happening, sometimes we can rescue it, even if it's mid-process.
Mm-hmm.
Your reputable IT providers have tools and the ability to freeze-frame things. They can get into the hard drives in different ways if they've got physical access, and physical access means they can actually touch it. So one of the best ways we do is to extract the unit, to extract the hard drive from the actual PC itself, and then put it into a device where it's quarantined and scanned. And as it's scanned, data is collected so that we try and replicate whatever's there onto another disk, so that if something's damaged on the disk, if it's breached in that way, if it's compromised because you've dropped it, if it's compromised or you think someone's accessing it illegally, and if you think someone's accessing your emails, if someone's broken in or guessed your password, make a call and do it soon. Mm-hmm. It's better to be safe than sorry. And we've had plenty of opportunities where something could have happened, our clients rung, we change things for them and help them work through that process. And okay, it's an innocent mistake or it's an explainable situation, but they're much more comfortable. They can sleep better.
Yeah.
They're happier.
Yeah.
And they learn and understand the processes of where their weak points are. Because as you go through that process when in a panic situation, you learn a lot.
Mm.
And you learn about your weak points and what you're doing and what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But seek help straight away.
So that's why it's important for a business owner to know, have a relationship with their IT provider.
I've trained you so well with
you have.
repeating this over and over again, of having someone you can talk to, someone who is a reliable source of information.
To throw the laptop in the car or the computer in the car and say, I'm on my way.
On your way, that's right. And someone who doesn't always agree with you is always a better bet. Someone who has an opinion on what's going on, so that you can work out the best way of doing things.
Wonderful. All right, last question
Sure.
we've got here. How do I track my device if it's stolen?
Yes.
Yes. Well, this is, following from securing our IT, and
Absolutely.
Now what happens if you haven't secured it correctly?
Well, there's several ways, and there's iPhone have a Track My Phone software that's available through the iPhone and Apple products, which is really good for some of those products, but not everybody has Apple. Apple is not as good as Windows when it comes to some networking requirements. Apple's a lot better when it comes to graphics and visuals. So people choose what they want depending upon the purpose that they have for that device. So how do you track your Windows device? If you've got endpoint security, and we spoke about that when we were talking about securing your device, if you've got endpoint security, a lot of the monitor security agents are trackable. They'll give out an internet address, an IP address, which is located and can be tied down to a specific location or a specific login, which obviously has a residential address. If you like, following it back, when you, at home, you log on to the internet, your logon details are based upon your billing address at your home. And that entrance to the internet has got an IP address. It's a label, it's a source, so that your packets and your inquiries can find their way back to you. In much the same way as if you're identified as being, that's the point, that's the source of the message that's coming from the software, then that's the location. There's GPS trackers to put in the cars. There's little devices to put inside machines. There's a whole range of things that are available, and all you need to do is talk to that trusted advisor, and for as little as a couple of dollars a month, you can have a full tracking of where things are. And so you need to choose what you're tracking and choose what you're not doing.
Get a peace of mind.
That's right. But, like everything else, there's tools and methods available for everybody.
Well, thank you so much for joining us over these past weeks and giving us some valuable information on everything IT, and for being a wonderful part of Local Business Focus. Peter Trenaman from Groupsupport, proud station sponsor.
Thanks for having me.